Hello there, my lovelies. This is Brady, and this week I'm coming at you with one of my favorite things to talk about: superhero butts. I'm sorry, that probably out of context. That's going to sound weird, but it's it's a genre of superhero, but blah blah blah. You'll see what I mean. You'll catch on. Please don't take that clip of me saying that I've been into superhero butts and use that against me in any way, shape, or form. Please. Let's get on to it.
Reviews versus the wild.
Alright, so let's explain a little bit of that earlier comment about superhero butt. So what I mean here is it's where you take a genre that is superheroes, and then you try to mix it up a little bit. So for example, you could say The Boys is superhero but evil, or you can say that WandaVision is superhero but wacky sitcoms traveling through time. You know, that sort of thing. And today I'm going to be talking about two different superhero but shows. And the first one I want to talk about is Jupiter's Legacy. Now, Jupiter's Legacy is what I would call superhero, but This Is Us. Now, you know me. I'm not one who will, begrudge cheesy content. I mean, cheap drama is something that I enjoy occasionally. Heck, my first episode of the Geeky Weekly Wrap-Up, I talked about 90 Day Fiancé of all things. So, I'm not necessarily above a little bit of cheese. And This Is Us in itself is actually very good. I mean, yes, you do have a lot of cheesy drama in This Is Us. But what you also get is you get some superb acting. You get some great writing. And that is awesome. Jupiter's Legacy, not as much. I mean, with Jupiter's Legacy, you get a little bit of the This Is Us feeling where you have a lot of that family drama. And you even have that family drama of people playing old people who are just in really bad old people makeup because it's really Josh Duhamel. But, you see him earlier in life where he is just Josh Duhamel. And you get a little bit of that backstory. And it flips back and forth between the two time periods. And you get a lot of that family dynamic. But what is different here is it doesn't work as well. The writing just isn't there. The acting definitely is not there. You don't have a Sterling K. Brown in Jupiter's Legacy. Instead, you have Josh Duhamel. So it's an okay show. Some of the effects are okay. Some of the powers are kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. I'm about halfway through season 1, and it's really just okay. If you're looking for a good superhero but show, I mean, you can do worse than Jupiter's Legacy, but you can also do better. If you're looking for something, try it out. If you already have a lot in your backlog, a lot on your plate, this is a skip. So moving along with this superhero but genre, let's talk about superhero but robot chicken. And that's when you get M.O.D.O.K. So M.O.D.O.K is a show that I don't think will work for everyone. It has a very, very specific type of humor. And that humor I've watched a lot of other people do reviews on this show and seen a lot of their opinions, and it's very, very mixed on whether or not it will hit with you. With me, oh boy does it hit. I found myself giggling and laughing quite a bit. So M.O.D.O.K is the supervillain that we haven't exactly seen in the MCU yet. The supervillain who is just the giant head in a floating chair with little tiny legs and arms. And so, you take a look at M.O.D.O.K just by himself and you think, yeah, this isn't someone who screams to me like this is going to be good live action drama with this guy. But you know what he's great at? Robot chicken stop motion animation. And oh man, this show really hits for me. And a lot of that is the voice cast. The voice cast is fantastic. Of course, you have Patton Oswalt playing M.O.D.O.K. And Patton Oswalt's voice is just so one of a kind. And you hear him, and at least for me, I can't help but smile. Because the guy is just full of charisma. And when you put a guy who's full of charisma like Patton Oswalt into the body of M.O.D.O.K, you're going to have some good humor there. And this show really hits on all cylinders. But the star of the show, the funniest character by far to me, isn't necessarily M.O.D.O.K, even though he's great. The funniest character is Lou, M.O.D.O.K's son, played by Ben Schwartz, who Ben Schwartz is a guy that you'll know him when you see him, because he's Jean-Ralphio from Parks and Rec. He's also Sonic the Hedgehog from the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie. This guy is extremely talented, and he's not used enough. But what he does here is so funny. Lou is this character, he's this young boy, and a lot of the season revolves around he's getting ready for his bat mitzvah. And, it's a lot of humor around that. But, he's a magician. He loves to do magic tricks, and his dad, M.O.D.O.K, just, why can't you be normal? Why can't you be into things like sports and cars and girls? But Ben Schwartz, with everything that this character does, that Lou does, he just imbues it with this sense of endless optimism and just happiness with absolutely everything. And that character is worth this entire show just on his own. And it's kind of like with Harley Quinn, with what made Harley Quinn for me, and this is of course the cartoon of Harley Quinn, is Bane. Bane and Harley Quinn was absolutely hilarious. And he was just this little bit character that I wish was in it so much more, because every time that he speaks is hilarious. Lou is the same way, but he's much more integral to the plot than Bane was in Harley Quinn. And so this M.O.D.O.K, you'll know within a couple of episodes whether or not this is going to catch you. But if it catches you like it caught me, you won't be able to wait from episode to episode. It's just so funny. And it has one of the best comedy action scenes that I've ever seen in this super genius scientist fight between M.O.D.O.K and Wendy McLennan Covey, I think that's her name, the mom from Goldbergs, but the character that she plays. And they have this superhero fight, the supervillain fight back and forth it's so funny. And it's very well done. M.O.D.O.K is one that I definitely enjoy. And you might not, but hopefully you will. So another show that I've been watching and enjoying, and I've been watching this specifically with my wife, is His Dark Materials on HBO Max. Now, we're almost on season 1, even though season 2 is also released at this point, and I was a little bit wary going in. I remember there was a lot of hullabaloo back in the day when The Golden Compass, which, is this series, when The Golden Compass was released in theaters, where, the guy the author for The Golden Compass is very, very staunchly anti-religion. And so there was just a lot of hullabaloo around that. And it turned off a lot of people. Of course, my parents didn't want me to see it because, what if I started questioning religion? But also, the movie just didn't have good reviews in general. So it wasn't really one that caught my attention. the books haven't really been anything that I've wanted to read, but I don't know. Something about his Dark Materials on HBO Max got me interested. And so my wife and I have been, at night after getting kids to bed, we've been turning it on, watching it, and it's actually pretty good. The writing is great. The acting is phenomenal. It's very confusing. Specifically, so, not to give too much away, but there's this element of this world is basically a parallel Earth to ours. And there's one character specifically that will travel in between their world and our modern day world. And the stuff where he goes over to the modern day just isn't making any sense at all. I'm not feeling the connection there. And I know that it's going to connect in the end. It's going to have something that will tie it together, but you need to have enough threads along the way to invest you in every side of a story, and this just doesn't really have that with those segments yet. That said, we are just about finished with season 1, and I expect that we're going to, have something that will go, oh, that makes sense now, I get it! But it hasn't hit us yet. But what has hit us is it's pretty entertaining. It's pretty good. The special effects are actually very nice. I mean, the bears in this show look a lot better than the bears did in the Golden Compass movie, and that was, a feature film instead of a TV series. But of course, that was also a while ago, and technology has advanced and whatnot. But still, it looks really good, and I've been enjoying it. We'll see how it goes as we finish season 1 and get into season 2. But I'd say, hey, if you're interested, go check it out. All right. So I want you to imagine you're back in 4th grade. You're in the school cafeteria, because that's what is also the gym, because, hey, that's how schools work. You are standing across from a bunch of other people. There's a line in the middle of the floor of the gymnasium with 5 balls lined up. And you're about to play some dodgeball. Now, you're probably in one of 2 camps here. Either you go, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I loved dodgeball when I was a kid. I was a monster. I was just like throwing those balls and, just kicking butt. Or you're like me and you're like, wasn't the greatest. Wasn't that much fun to me. But you know what is fun? Video game dodgeball. Oh yeah. So Super Dodgeball on the was it Super Nintendo is a game that I actually really enjoyed. In the arcades, it was a lot of fun. And you don't really see much in the dodgeball genre of sports games. But EA let Villain Studios take over something called Knockout City. And this game could be huge. It's an online multiplayer dodgeball game where just everything about it is so interesting. You have a lot of ability to control your movements as a character. There's a lot to master here. You can go really deep into all the mechanics. When you can go, okay, should I do a lob? Should I do a spin ball? Should I, like a curveball? Or should I charge this up? And then there's, additional things like you can actually turn yourself into a ball. You can kind of Samus Aran yourself down into this little ball, and then one of your teammates can pick you up and throw you, and if you hit somebody, then it's an automatic knockout. So there's a lot of different strategy that you can get in here. Or you can just kind of throw all that out the window and just say, hey, I just want to go and throw some balls at some people in this city. And you can still have a lot of fun with it. So there have been a lot of attempts at, getting some fun, good multiplayer action out there. Have it heavily stylized, try to maybe take a little bit of that Splatoon vibe to get the kids involved and really try to find an audience. And some games did that, and they really succeeded. Take stuff like Fall Guys. And then some others have failed miserably. Take Rocket Arena. And so I'm not sure exactly where Knockout City is going to end up falling in the end. I would say that the mechanics are easy enough to learn, but tough enough to master that you can really have a wide variety of people getting into this. Or it could be fizzled out within a week. I don't quite know. But what I can say is I'm having fun with it as it is. And I'm going to still keep on playing it. I'm playing it on the Switch. It's also on Xbox Game Pass, so you can get it there. And it's also cross-play between all platforms. So whether you're on PC, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, no matter where you are, you'll be able to play against your friends and play with your friends. And so it's a very good time. And it's one that I recommend checking it out. It's by the time that you're watching this, the free period is probably over, but it's still a pretty cheap game. So it's a low barrier of entry, and you'll have a lot of fun. And I can see them adding to this for years to come. Or if the community fizzles out, then you won't hear about it in another 2 weeks. So let's do all we can to, keep that community strong, because I want to keep playing. Okay, and now it's time for me to talk about one of my favorite franchises that I haven't really played for a long time, and that is Resident Evil. So the Resident Evil games that I have a very interesting history. Obviously, growing up, like I am now, I was always a Nintendo guy. And so that means that Resident Evil 1 came out, Resident Evil 2 came out on the PlayStation, Resident Evil 3 came out, and I didn't really have a place to jump in. I could have gotten Resident Evil 2 on the N64, but at the time, my parents would not have anything to do with that, let me tell you. But then Resident Evil Remake came out on the GameCube, and that game, to this day, is a visual powerhouse. But it's also just scratch an itch. Yes, you have that horror element, but you also have a lot to do with, inventory management, with puzzles. And you take that, and then you add in some horror, and you can get some good stuff there. And so the Resident Evil Remake, I was very much into that. Resident Evil 0, not as good, obviously. It's not one that you hear regarded very well these days, but I still enjoyed it. To this day, I still have not played Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, or Code Veronica. But I for sure got Resident Evil 4, and that's when my fandom went from, this is pretty awesome, to, oh my gosh, I love this! Resident Evil 4 has so many elements that I just really adored. You still have that horror, but there's a lot more action there. You had a lot more versatility in what you're able to do, and you have more control over your characters. Gone were the tank controls that you had before, and you were instead able to really you feel like you were in control. And I loved that. And I love Resident Evil 4. To this day, it's probably my top 10 games of all time. Especially the Wii version, because those pointer controls made it even better. And so, Resident Evil 5 came out, and I actually, I had an Xbox 360 at the time. I went ahead and I played a little bit of that, and I enjoyed what I played, but it wasn't really hitting. Resident Evil 6 came out, I saw the review scores and went, nope, not doing it. Not doing it at all. And, I have actually recently picked up Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 on the Switch, and I definitely am enjoying those. Resident Evil 7 came out, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm going to get back into the franchise. I'm going to get back into it. First person, okay. That's different. Scary. Not like the old game scary, legitimately pee your pants scary. I put it off. Then Resident Evil Village came out, and I said, okay, you know what? This seems like it's getting a lot of that campiness back into Resident Evil that I was wanting. Some of that campiness that you get in Resident Evil 4. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to do it. I want to get back into Resident Evil Village. But I knew that Resident Evil Village very much closely follows right after Resident Evil 7. So I had to get to know Ethan Winters, which means I had to dive into Resident Evil 7. and I'm a wuss. So, I've been playing a little bit of Resident Evil 7. To be honest, I haven't gotten very far as of yet, but I have been enjoying what I've been playing. And yes, it is a freaky game. It scares the crap out of me. I'll be honest. I force my wife to come and sit by me while I play it. And, you know, she's just kind of laughing at how cheesy a lot of it is, but it's frightening, you know? You get that first-person perspective, and that alone makes it scarier. Then you have, like, the persistent threat of the dad, you know, constantly chasing after you throughout this creepy house, you know, in the bayou, and it can get to you, you know? That persistent threat is something that I know has been in past Resident Evil games. You know, that was a big part of Resident Evil 2, and especially Resident Evil 3. I mean, Resident Evil 3 is all about Nemesis is always after you. But I hadn't really gotten into those games before, so I hadn't really felt that. And it scares me. it frightens me. But I've still been having a lot of fun with it. And it's definitely giving me a framework to go into the more action-heavy, cheesy, not very good story-wise, but still just good, dumb fun of Resident Evil Village. So you'll probably hear me talk about Resident Evil Village next month, and, you know, I'll follow up telling you how much I enjoyed or didn't enjoy Resident Evil 7 and how it ends at that point. But until then, Resident Evil 7 is a damn good game. It is very, very good. And as freaky as all get out. And that's it for this week. So, obviously, you know, I had a lot of fun, you know, getting into superhero butts. Once again, don't take that out of context. Don't dare take that out of context. But, you know, also I got in some good game time, and His Dark Materials is great. I definitely recommend that you check some of these things out. And of course, let me know in the comments what you think that I would like, what you think that I would enjoy, what you want to hear my take on. And make sure you like, subscribe, you know, all that jazz that I tell you every week. And I kind of do it sarcastically because it's like, oh, everyone on YouTube tells you to do these things. But, you know, seriously, it does help. You know, every time that I see the views go up on these videos, yeah, that's great. But when I see the likes, when I see the comments, and I'm able to really, you know, engage with you as a community, that is just so special to me. And that's really what a lot of YouTube is about. And that's why I started this channel, is because I have a lot of opinions and I want to get them out, but I also want to hear your opinions. I'm always looking for things to get into. And so I want your suggestions. And until next time, I'll see you later.
Review.